Every sunrise brings a quiet offering, an invitation to begin again. Yet, many of us do not accept this gift. We wake and immediately carry the currents of yesterday into the new day. The same patterns of thought, the same heavy emotions. We wonder why the scenery of our life never changes when we are the ones who refuse to move. To truly welcome abundance, not only material wealth, but clarity, stillness, and life force, you must learn to release the identity that has run its course. This letting go happens not in the future, but in the soft awareness of this very moment. What has come before? It is history. The moment you cease to identify with your past, you release its hold upon your future. Many people walk with their history like a heavy coat, not seeing that they can choose to set it down. It follows only because you continue to carry it. Your stories may have shaped you, but they do not define the essence of who you are. Let the story be just a story. Become fully available to the present, for it is only in the open space of now that profound transformation can take root. If you wish for life to bring you its gifts, you must first create a space for them to be received. That space appears only when you allow the noise of yesterday to finally grow quiet. To awaken is not just a function of the body. It is an opportunity for the spirit to arrive. But most people simply open their eyes and continue to walk through their day in a state of sleep. Do not just wake your body. Awaken your awareness. Arrive into this breath. Arrive into this very moment. Be completely here before life begins to pull you outward into its activities. Before reaching for the world, first reach for your own center. Gently notice what you are feeling, what you are thinking, what you resist. This simple, quiet pause each morning can dissolve layers of conditioned behavior that might otherwise guide your entire day. The version of you that reacts without thinking is the very one that blocks the flow of life. In place of reaction, cultivate observation. Just watch your thoughts as you would watch clouds passing in the sky. Let them drift by. When you react, you hand your inner stillness over to external events. When you respond from a place of peace, you become the calm center of your own existence. Your old patterns thrive on urgency and chaos. The emerging self simply watches and responds with wisdom. This space between you and your thoughts is not a form of escape. It is the beginning of true freedom. Stillness is a trusted friend you may have forgotten. Many of us fill our mornings with immediate sound because we are uneasy with meeting our own mind. But the first moments of the day hold a unique quality. They set the tone for all that follows. Sit with that stillness. No music, no talking, no list making. Simply be. In that quietude, your mind finds its natural order. Your inner world begins to clear. When stillness is the first voice you honor, your actions become more aligned, more purposeful, more potent. Abundance can only enter where resistance has ceased. And stillness is the gentle path through which resistance departs. One of the great sources of our struggle is the belief that the world itself is flawed. But the world simply is. It is our perception that is clouded. What you see on the outside is a mirror of the turbulence within. If you are constantly seeing discord, difficulty, and lack, it is an invitation to gently clean your inner vision. Gratitude is the very act of clearing this vision. Authentic gratitude is not a forced habit. It is a change in perspective. It's not about mindlessly listing things. It is about deeply acknowledging that this life, this very breath, this one moment, is a profound gift. When your being resonates with gratitude, you align with the generous nature of life itself, which then reflects back to you more reasons to be grateful. Discipline, so often seen as a rigid cage, is actually the highest form of self-compassion. Your past conditioning seeks what is easy, what is distracting, and what offers fleeting comfort. But the self that is growing within you honors clarity, depth, and the beauty of structure. Each time you choose to sit in quiet reflection over aimless scrolling, to walk in nature instead of remaining stagnant, to respond with thought instead of reacting with impulse, you are not inflicting a punishment. You are making an investment in your own unfolding. Life responds not to what you wish for. It responds to the state of your being. Discipline gently shapes your being into one that is ready to receive with an open heart. Each morning offers a chance to let the old self fall away, not in some grand, dramatic way, but in a quiet, internal release. Let go of the stories, the justifications, the emotional burdens. Imagine waking without the memory of your own perceived limits. Who could you be in that space? That version of you already exists within. You may not have met them yet, because the echo of your history has been too constant. Allow the old patterns to dissolve daily. Let every sunrise be a quiet ceremony of renewal. Life does not reward repetition born of habit. It blossoms through conscious renewal. So let this be a reminder not just once, but with each new morning. Let it guide you back to the truth that you are not your past. You are the infinite possibility of this moment. And it is in this moment that true abundance is found. Awakening is not simply the mechanical act of opening your eyes and getting out of bed. It is not just the body moving from a state of rest to a state of action. Awakening, in its most meaningful sense, is about arriving. It means to fully arrive in the present moment. So many people awaken physically, but they move through their entire day asleep in mind and heart. They wake up to notifications, to a sense of duty, but not to their own presence. True awakening is becoming conscious of the now, of your breath as it flows, of the stillness that exists before the world's demands begin. As you open your eyes each morning, gently ask yourself, are you truly present, or are you just continuing the soundtrack of yesterday? The conditioned self will reach for a phone, for an external stimulus, for the world's agenda. But the new self, the self that is aware, simply pauses. It checks in with its inner world first. What is the texture of your thoughts? What sensation is present in your body? What are you carrying from yesterday that can be set down today? To observe yourself in this quiet moment is not idle time. It is preparing the ground for a day lived with greater clarity and grace. Most are unaware of how easily they fall into their emotional routines the moment they awaken. They relive the same inner cycles, the same irritations, and then wonder why life itself feels repetitive. But true change does not come from doing the same things with more effort. It comes from seeing your own patterns clearly and gently refusing to participate in them unconsciously. When you learn to simply observe your mind in the morning, for even a few minutes, you begin the sacred process of dissolving old habits. You begin to interrupt the automated behaviors that hold you in place. This practice of arrival is a quiet but deeply transformative ritual. It does not need any special tools or ceremony. It only asks for your presence. Sit for a moment in the quiet. Feel your breath. Notice the world awakening alongside you. Sense the energy of a new day as it meets you like a fresh, clean canvas. This is the moment you can choose not to paint the exact same picture. This is where you can choose awareness over automatic pilot. This is where your own energy can align with intention, not just with routine. When you begin your morning from this space, you train your mind to respond to life with wisdom instead of reacting to it with impulse. You are no longer driven by every whim. You become a calm witness, and from that stillness, a creator. The conditioned self reacts instantly, craves stimulation, and runs from quiet. But the version of you that is truly awake does not fear the quiet. It finds its strength there, because it is in stillness that insight, clarity, and abundance can gently flow. When your first action of the day is one of awareness, the rest of your day naturally begins to mirror that quality. To arrive in the morning also means releasing your tight grip on expectation. You do not need to forecast how the day will go. You do not need to manage every single outcome. You simply need to be rooted in the ground of now. When you are fully here, your presence expands. You move into your day with a sense of peace, not pressure. You start to notice more, to feel more deeply, and to attract a different quality of experience. Not because you are forcing it, but because you are in alignment with it. Abundance always finds its way to the one who is not distracted from their own center. So tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, remember this simple invitation. Don't just wake up, arrive. Don't just get out of bed, rise into awareness. This small, gentle shift will begin to loosen the grip of old habits and create the space for a new way of being to emerge. You are not here just to get through days. You are here to experience the newness of each and every morning. And the more you arrive in each day with awareness, the more that day arrives for you, bearing its quiet gifts. The mind is much like a river, flowing ceaselessly, carrying thoughts, feelings, and memories in its current. Most of us are swept away by this river. The moment we wake, a thought enters our awareness, and we are instantly pulled into reaction. We remember a frustration from yesterday, and our energy sinks. We imagine a difficult talk we must have, and a feeling of unease grows. Without knowing it, we are no longer here in this room, in this moment. We are lost in projections of the mind. This is how our old conditioning works. It is habitual, automatic, and unaware. To step out of this cycle, you must become the silent observer of your mind, not a captive of its flow. Before your feet even touch the floor, take a moment to simply watch your thoughts. There is no need to judge them. There is no need to follow them. Simply notice them. Like clouds passing through the immense sky, they arise and they dissolve. You do not have to cling to any one of them. You do not have to believe every story they tell. This small space between you, the awareness, and your thoughts is the gateway to freedom. This quiet gap is where transformation can begin. When you create that inner space, even for a brief time, something profound begins to shift. You stop being a reactor. You stop allowing the past or your fears to govern your inner state. So many are held in the chains of reactivity, doing what they have always done, feeling what they have always felt, thinking what they have always thought. But the moment you observe without reacting, you interrupt the automatic process. You become conscious. You become present. And in that presence lies a quiet power. You move from being carried by the current to standing firmly on the shore. Reacting is the language of your conditioning. It is a reflex that arises from old pain, from insecurity, and from fear. But responding is entirely different. A response is born of clarity. It is not rushed. It is not defensive. It arises from stillness. A person who constantly reacts is predictable and easily moved. A person who responds is steady and centered. Others begin to sense this shift in your presence. You will feel it deep within yourself. You no longer need to prove or to justify. You can simply remain aware. And within that awareness, the most skillful action naturally reveals itself. This inner observation is not about suppressing what you feel or forcing yourself to be calm. It is about seeing an emotion in its entirety and choosing not to be swept away by it. You can feel a wave of anger rise without becoming the anger. You can notice a flicker of fear without letting fear become your whole world. That level of awareness changes the very foundation of your past self. It allows the old patterns to fall away, not by force, but through light. When something is seen with total clarity, it loses its power to control you from the shadows. The clarity itself is the healing. To live in this way does not require you to retreat from the world or meditate for many hours. You simply need to build the gentle habit of observation. Every morning, before the world asks for your energy, give that energy to yourself. Sit for 1 minute, for 5, for 10, whatever is possible. You close your eyes, you breathe, and you just watch. Let the mind be as it is. Let the feelings come and go. Do nothing at all. Simply be the one who sees. With time, that quiet witness grows stronger than the noise. Eventually, this observation becomes your more natural state. You find you are no longer reacting to your life in the same habitual ways. You pause before you speak. You feel before you decide. You notice your triggers instead of stumbling into them. This is not a sign of weakness. This is true strength. And when you reach this place, you have already begun to release your old self. Not through struggle, not through pretense, but by becoming deeply aware of who you are and choosing, moment by moment, to be fully here. In that presence, abundance flows as naturally as a river to the sea. Most people begin their day immersed in noise. The moment their eyes open, they reach for distractions, turn on screens, or engage in chatter, not realizing the inner agitation they carry into the new day. They mistake movement for progress, sound for purpose, and business for meaning. But real power has its roots in silence. Silence is not the emptiness of sound. It is the fullness of awareness. In that space before words are formed, before plans are made, lies a deep clarity that noise can never offer. This is not about avoiding sound. It is about no longer fearing the meeting of your own self without distraction. When you start your day in silence, you offer yourself the most precious of gifts in our modern world, a state of stillness. In that stillness, your inner world begins to settle. Thoughts that were once racing now gently slow their pace. Emotions that felt tangled now begin to soften. The sense of pressure that seemed so solid now loses its form. All of this unfolds not because you are trying to do anything, but because you are simply allowing there to be space. Silence creates the room for your own truth to emerge. It does not fill your mind, it clears it. And when you are clear, you naturally invite clarity into your life. There is a deep intelligence in silence that words cannot convey. In that quiet space, you begin to truly hear what is unfolding within you. You may sense unease. You may feel deep peace. Whatever comes up, it is authentic and it is yours. Many run from silence because it reveals what they have been working so hard to avoid. But if you can stay with it long enough, that discomfort transforms into profound depth. You begin to see that you are not your thoughts. You are not your worries. You are not your agenda. You are the still presence that is aware of it all. And that awareness is a source of unshakable strength. Before the world asks for your attention, give that attention to your own inner landscape. Let stillness be the first companion you greet. It will teach you more about yourself than any external guidance ever could. This does not mean you reject wisdom from others. It means you prepare your inner ground to properly receive it. Without silence, you are just adding more information to an already cluttered space. But with silence, one single insight can transform your entire day. Your mind can become like a placid lake, able to reflect the truth without distortion. When you sit in silence, you are not being unproductive or wasting time. You are returning to your natural state of being, the place where your energy comes into alignment with life itself. This is where abundance has its source, not in frantic effort, but in serene presence. The more still you become, the more you recognize what is truly important. You begin to see which thoughts are worth nurturing, which feelings ask for healing, and which dreams are ready for action. Silence doesn't take away the complexity of life, but it helps you move through it without becoming entangled in it. It might feel unfamiliar at first, to sit quietly while everything else rushes on. But the greatest transformations have their beginnings in the unseen world. Just a few moments of silence each morning can send gentle ripples throughout your entire day. You begin to speak with more clarity, to act with more purpose, and to live from a place of greater intention. You stop chasing abundance and start to radiate a state of being that is abundant in itself. People feel something different in your presence, not for what you say, but for the calm you embody. When silence becomes your friend, your old, reactive self cannot survive. The version of you that was fed by noise, by drama, by mental chaos begins to dissolve. What emerges in its place is a being who is grounded, aware, and in deep relationship with life. This new self does not look for approval or external validation. It carries its own peace. It welcomes abundance not through striving, but through alignment. So with each new day, before you allow the world in, first let in the silence. Let it communicate with you in its quiet language. And you will find that in saying nothing at all, it shows you everything you need to know. Most people navigate their lives trying to change everything outside themselves. They hold the belief that if only the world were different, if people acted another way, if their circumstances were less challenging, then they could finally find peace. This way of seeing keeps them in a cycle of frustration and discontent. They find problems in every corner, faults in others, unfairness in how life unfolds. What they may not see is that they are not viewing the world as it actually is, and that the world is designed to show them to themselves. They are looking at it through a distorted lens, a filter colored by their past, by unresolved emotions, and by deep-seated conditioning. The lens through which you see shapes your entire reality. Two people can be in the very same situation and experience it in completely different ways. Not because the external world is different for them, but because their inner perception is. If your lens is clouded by fear, you will find threats where there are none. If it is muddled with old resentment, you will find reasons to feel betrayed. If it is scratched by past pain, you will project that pain onto people who never caused it. This is how the conditioned self perpetuates itself. It keeps you focused on the outside world, so you never have to question the distortions within. It convinces you that your unease is caused by external events, rather than by your interpretation of them. Trying to fix the world without first clearing your own lens is like trying to clean a mirror by wiping the reflection. You can make demands, you can protest, you can complain, but if the lens remains unchanged, the image will remain distorted. This does not imply the world is without its challenges. It means your capacity to meet those challenges with wisdom is entirely dependent on the clarity of your perception. When your mind is filled with judgments, every obstacle feels like a personal attack. When your mind is calm and clear, those same obstacles can become guideposts. Clarity can turn chaos into a new direction. Your strong judgments are often not profound insights. They are echoes of old wounds. Every time you find yourself thinking, people are always this way, or things never work out, you are speaking from a place of past pain, not present awareness. These generalizations do not reflect the truth of the world. They reflect the unresolved parts of your own heart. The moment you begin to question these stories, the lens starts to clear. You begin to see people not as adversaries, but as mirrors for your own growth. Situations no longer feel so targeted. They become part of a larger dance that you can now move with gracefully. You do not attract what you want with your thoughts. You attract what you are with your being. If your inner world is defined by resistance, you will meet resistance in all you do. If your heart is guarded, abundance has no entryway. When you begin to clear your lens, even a little, the entire world appears to transform. You start to notice beauty where you once only saw mundanity. You begin to feel peace in situations that used to provoke unease. It is not the world that has changed. It is that you have changed the way you meet it. This shift is subtle, but its power is immense. Clearing your lens is not something you do only once. It is a daily practice. Each morning, you can polish it through awareness, through gratitude, and through stillness. You must gently ask yourself, am I seeing what is truly here, or am I projecting my own story onto it? You must have the honesty to recognize your own patterns and the compassion to begin letting them go. This journey requires humility. It requires you to release the identity that is sustained by seeing itself as a victim. But in that release, you reclaim your true inner authority, the power to see life as it is, not as your conditioning colors it to be. When you stop trying to fix the world and turn your attention to your own perception, a new way of being can emerge. This self is no longer reactive, no longer holding on to bitterness, no longer caught in endless opposition. It is calm, present, and open. It does not require the world to be different to be at peace. It brings peace into the world through the quality of its seeing and responding. This is how abundance finds you. Not when everything on the outside is finally arranged to your liking, but when your perception becomes clear enough to see the grace that was present all along. Gratitude is often perceived as simply a polite act of saying thanks, a gesture we perform out of custom or duty, but authentic gratitude flows from a much deeper wellspring. It is not just a reaction to receiving something good. It is a profound, conscious awareness that life, in all its mystery, owes you nothing at all. And yet, it provides you with everything needed for your journey of growth, of experience, of learning. This quiet understanding transforms gratitude from a mere ritual into a profound insight. When you start to feel a sense of thankfulness, not because all your desires are met, but simply because you are here and you are aware, your entire inner world begins to shift. The gratitude interrupts the endless cycle of not enough and gently guides your attention back to the fullness of the now. It reminds you that the very breath you are taking is a gift, not a guarantee. That the earth beneath your feet, the people who cross your path, the lessons you are given, all of it is part of a generous unfolding that you did not create, yet are invited to witness. When you begin your day with a sense of gratitude, you are not simply thinking positive thoughts. You are resetting the very foundation of your being. You are consciously stepping out of the frequency of lack and into the frequency of reception. This is not about denying that challenges exist. It is about choosing to see what is already whole, what is already here, and what is already a blessing. From that state of being, you stop desperately chasing and you start to naturally align. Opportunities that were once hidden from you begin to appear, not because the world itself changed, but because your capacity to see them has expanded. Gratitude also humbles the part of us that feels entitled. It dissolves the illusion that life should reward us simply because we are trying hard or believe we are good people. It shows you that the sun will rise without your assistance, that your heart will beat without your command, that countless small miracles are taking place within you and around you in every single moment. When you perceive life from this vantage point, your sense of struggle can begin to ease. You still take action, but you no longer act from a place of desperation. You move from a place of inspiration. You act from fullness, not from emptiness. There is also a quiet, healing power in gratitude. It gives you the capacity to forgive, to release, and to accept. When you can feel grateful for your lessons, even the most painful ones, you stop seeing your life through the story of being a victim. You come to realize that life has been shaping you, not harming you. Gratitude can transform old wounds into symbols of your resilience. It doesn't remove the past, but it can give it a deeper meaning. And meaning is what the soul seeks. When you find meaning in where you have been, you no longer carry fear about where you are going. You can walk with a sense of peace, knowing that nothing on your path has been wasted. Practicing gratitude does not demand any special circumstances. You do not require more success, more wealth, or more praise from others. You simply require a gentle, consistent awareness. Each morning, before your mind compiles a list of what is missing, gently guide it to notice what is present. The more consistently you practice this inner shift, the more your inner state will transform. Life begins to feel lighter, more spacious, and more welcoming. You become a presence that is magnetic, not by demanding that life give you more, but by being completely open to what is already being offered. The conditioned self is sustained by complaint and dissatisfaction. It looks for something to be wrong to affirm its existence. But when you consciously choose gratitude, that old self begins to lose its grip. In its place emerges a version of you that radiates a quiet calm, that welcomes abundance, and that trusts the rhythm of life. This is not some form of magic. It is simple alignment, and that alignment is rooted in presence. Gratitude anchors you deeply in the now. It releases your sense of lack, and it prepares you to receive with an open heart. In that state, you no longer have to pursue anything. You become the space to which abundance naturally flows. There are aspects of our lives we try with all our might to avoid. Certain feelings, past events, challenging situations, or people that stir a deep discomfort within us. We push them to the back of our minds, cover them with constant activity, and assure ourselves that we have moved past them. But whatever we resist does not simply vanish. It lingers in the shadows, waiting. The more we try to outrun it, the more authority it holds over us. Resistance is the foundation of repetition. You may find yourself drawn to the same kind of partner, engaged in the same kind of conflict, or caught in the same inner battle time and again, without truly seeing the root of it. This is not a punishment, It is an invitation to bring awareness to what is hidden. The mind's natural instinct is to seek comfort. It desires ease, predictability, and safety. But true growth is not found in the realm of comfort. It is found in gently turning to face what you have been unwilling to see. That feeling you have been avoiding, that pattern you continue to deny, that is the very threshold of your transformation. Life will patiently bring it back to you, not to cause you pain, but to awaken you. You cannot release what you have not fully acknowledged. You cannot heal what you have not been willing to feel. The conditioned self survives by avoiding its own shadow. The emerging self is born through gentle acceptance. When you finally turn and look at what you have been running from, you begin to take back your own energy. You start to see that the feeling itself is not as damaging as the fear of feeling it. Most of our suffering is born from the resistance itself, not from the original experience. By observing the pattern, understanding its source, and allowing the associated feelings to be present without judgment, you break the cycle. You begin to see it not as something that is who you are, but as something that has passed through you and taught you. This is a subtle shift, but it is the start of authentic freedom. Healing is not about trying to become a different person. It is about letting go of what is not truly you. The emotional weight you carry is often a legacy from your past, your childhood, your old relationships, your life experiences. It is not your fault that you have this weight, but it is your journey to gently set it down. And that process begins with turning to face it. Sit with your own discomfort. Let it have a voice. Let it show you where you have been holding on to tension, to blame, to fear, or to grief. This is not a sign of weakness. It is the highest form of courage. Real courage is not pretending that you are fine. It is the willingness to be with what is real. Resistance is often entwined with judgment. We tell ourselves certain feelings are bad, wrong, or something to be ashamed of. We push down our tears, our anger, or our confusion because we believe we should not be feeling them. But feelings are neither right nor wrong. They are simply messengers. They arise to show you something that needs your gentle attention. When you listen to them without pushing them away, they begin to soften. When you allow yourself to feel them without condemning them, you begin to heal. What once seemed overwhelming now becomes manageable. What once defined you now becomes just a part of your story, not its entirety. Facing what you resist is not a single event. It is an ongoing practice. Each time an old pattern arises, you can meet it with a bit more presence, a little more compassion. You can observe it like an old visitor, no longer with fear, no longer with struggle. In that calm observation, its charge begins to dissipate. You respond differently. You stop acting from the old wound, and you start acting from your present wisdom. This does not mean you will never again feel pain, but it means that pain no longer has control over you. The pattern loses its power, and your life can begin to unfold in new and beautiful ways. As long as you resist something, it remains a part of your journey. It will repeat itself through people, through places, through feelings, and through outcomes. But the moment you face it with full, compassionate awareness, it begins to dissolve. This is how you find freedom from the past. Not by erasing it, but by integrating its lessons. You do not destroy the old self. You understand it so completely that it no longer defines who you are today. And in that compassionate understanding, you release it. That is how true transformation occurs. That is how the old story ends, and a new way of living can finally begin. Through presence, through acceptance, and through the quiet courage to face what you once ran from. Your environment is not something separate from you. It is an extension of you. The space where you dwell, the people you choose to be around, the daily routines you follow, all of these mirror your own inner state. When your outer world feels cluttered, chaotic, or energetically heavy, it is often a sign that your inner world is also unsettled. We often tend to overlook this deep connection and place the cause of our feelings on external things. But if you observe closely, you will see that the disorder on the outside often reflects a similar disorder on the inside. This is not about feeling guilty or ashamed. It is about developing an awareness that what you see around you is frequently a silent echo of your own mind and energy. Many people say they want peace, but they live surrounded by constant noise. They say they want clarity, but their personal space is filled with clutter. They want to grow, but they surround themselves with people and habits that reinforce stagnation. What you keep in your world speaks to how you feel about yourself. If you exist in a state of disorder, it becomes difficult to think with clarity, to make wise decisions, or to feel a sense of inspiration. The environment itself can become a weight that subtly influences everything you do. You may not perceive it consciously at first, but over time, it becomes the very air in which you think, feel, and create. To change your environment is not just about organizing your desk or cleaning your home. It is a sacred practice of declaring to life that you are making space for something new. When you bring order to your physical space, you are telling your own self that you are worthy of inner calm and clarity. When you let go of possessions that no longer hold meaning for you, you are practicing the essential art of release. And when you intentionally choose who and what you allow into your immediate circle, you are stepping into your own authority. This is not superficial work. It is deeply spiritual. It is a practice of energetic alignment. Every object in your home holds a certain energy. Every corner of your space holds a memory. Gently ask yourself what kind of energy you are surrounded by each day. Do your walls hold images that inspire you, or are they reminders of a person you no longer are? Do the people in your life uplift you, or do they drain your energy? Are your daily habits aligned with the person you are becoming, or with the person you are trying to leave behind? These questions are not meant to create more pressure. They are meant to be a gentle invitation into a state of honesty. Because when your environment is created with intention, it begins to act as a support system for the version of you that is striving to emerge. Abundance does not easily enter spaces where chaos is the dominant energy, not because it cannot, but because there is no room for it to be received and to settle. A clear mind naturally welcomes clear opportunities. A calm space is an invitation for creative thought. A supportive community of friends will energize your journey instead of depleting it. Your environment will either help you to expand, or it will encourage you to shrink. It will either be the fuel for your growth, or it will keep you caught in familiar cycles that feel safe but are ultimately unfulfilling. If you desire new results in your life, you can start with your immediate world. Tend to it with great care. Let it become a true reflection of the energy you wish to embody. There is no need for a massive overhaul all at once. Begin with something small. Remove one single thing that no longer gives you a feeling of joy. Spend just a few minutes each day cultivating a sense of order. Begin to set gentle boundaries with those who consistently drain you. Start to notice how your body and spirit feel in different places and around different people. These small, consistent actions build a powerful momentum. As you create more clarity in your outer world, it will begin to be mirrored in your inner world. You will begin to feel lighter, more centered, and more aligned. The mental noise starts to quiet down. The distractions lose their power, and in their place, a new space opens up for inspiration, for opportunities, and for peace. When your environment is a support for your highest self, you no longer have to struggle to attract abundance. It begins to arrive naturally. It feels welcome in your life because you have consciously made room for it. You have created a home, not just with walls and objects, but with energy and deep intention. And that is when life begins to precisely mirror your inner state. You are no longer chasing. Abundance begins to find you because you are no longer sending mixed signals. You are clear, you are aligned, and you are ready. And life always responds to that clarity. Discipline is often viewed as something harsh, an act of force that restricts you or diminishes the joy in life. But in its true essence, discipline is not about punishing yourself. It is about aligning yourself. It is the capacity to say a quiet yes to what truly nurtures you, and a quiet no to what only provides a moment of comfort. When you start to live with this kind of discipline, you are not working against yourself. You are walking towards the self that you are in the process of becoming. You are choosing the path of growth over the path of comfort, clarity over chaos, and a deep sense of purpose over a pleasure that fades too quickly to truly matter. Most people will avoid discipline because they see it as rigid, difficult, or full of suffering. But real discipline is not born from self-criticism. It is born from self-respect. It is a quiet declaration that you are worthy of the effort, that your deepest aspirations are worthy of protection, and that your time here is sacred. It is not an action you take just once in a while. It becomes a way of living, a way of honoring yourself in even the smallest of your choices. From the food you eat to the words you speak to the habits you gently cultivate, every choice is either building your future or holding you in the past. The conditioned self is drawn to what is easy, to distraction, and to temporary relief. It wants to feel good right now, even if it means unease later on. It will whisper to you to skip the practice, to put off the important conversation, to delay the meaningful project. And each time you listen to that voice, you strengthen the part of yourself that remains unchanged. But the moment you choose discipline, even in one small aspect of your life, you begin to shift your own identity. You stop being someone who is waiting for life to happen, and you start to become someone who is creating it. This is a very subtle shift, but over time, it changes absolutely everything. Discipline is not a journey of perfection. It is a journey of consistency. You will still have moments of weakness. You will still face struggles. But you will return to your path more quickly because your foundation has been changed. You no longer depend on motivation, which comes and goes like the weather. You learn to rely on your commitment, which is like a deep, quiet well. And this steady commitment sends a clear signal, not just to your own being, but to the world, that you are serious, that you are no longer making room for excuses, that you have made a decision to move forward, no matter how small your steps may seem. Every time you rise early, when it feels easier to remain in bed, every time you choose your deeper purpose over a momentary distraction, you are demonstrating something powerful. You are demonstrating that you can be trusted with more responsibility, more energy, more abundance. Because life does not simply reward a wish, it responds to a state of readiness. Discipline is how you cultivate and demonstrate that you are ready. It is the steady bridge between your intention and its manifestation in the world. Without it, your dreams remain as ideas. With it, those dreams can become your reality. There will be days when discipline may feel lonely. Days when it appears that everyone else is relaxing, or celebrating, or escaping, while you are doing the quiet work. But in those very moments, gently remind yourself of why you started on this path. Remember that you are not walking this path to gain the approval of anyone else. You are walking it to meet the version of yourself that only discipline can reveal. That version of you is already present within. It is simply waiting for you to become consistent enough to bring it into the light. To choose discipline is to choose yourself. Not only the version of yourself that you are today, but the one you are consciously becoming. It is a profound act of self-love, perhaps the greatest of all, for it requires patience, foresight, and dedication. You are no longer just living for the comfort of today. You are building a future with every single action. And in that future, you will be able to look back with a sense of deep gratitude, not regret, because you will know that you showed up for yourself, even when it was difficult. And that kind of love for yourself creates a life where abundance is welcomed, not chased. Transformation is not an event that arrives with a loud sound or a dramatic display. It does not always require the world to come to a stop, or for everything in your life to be turned upside down. True transformation begins in the quietest of moments, in the small choices you make that no one else sees, in your gentle willingness to let go of the version of yourself that no longer serves your path. Each morning, you are given this profound opportunity. not as a symbol, but as a literal truth. When you open your eyes, you can make the choice to let yesterday truly be over. Not just its events, but the state of mind, the old justifications, the quiet limitations that have shaped your behaviors. Most people carry the same self-identity from one day to the next. They will say, "This is just how I am. This is how I have always been. This is what I am capable of." But this identity is not a permanent fixture. It is a learned pattern, a memory, a series of choices that are being repeated without being questioned. When you awaken and you gently say to yourself, "Today, I am no longer defined by that version of me," you interrupt the cycle. You grant yourself the permission to be new, and that permission holds a quiet and immense power, because life does not respond to your unseen potential. It responds to the energy that you are embodying in this very moment. To let go daily does not mean you lose a part of yourself. It means you gently shed the layers that are not true, the layers of fear, of habit, of repetition. It means you can look at your familiar excuses and say, "I am finished using you as a reason to remain where I am." It means you can see your fears and acknowledge, "I no longer give you authority over me." This is not an act of denial. It is an act of choice. You are not denying that the past happened. You are simply choosing not to carry its weight forward into a new day. This quiet, inner release is not a destruction. It is a liberation. It clears the inner ground so that something new and alive can grow. So many people wait for transformation to be sparked by pain, by loss, by a moment of crisis. But what if you did not wait? What if you chose to evolve before life gave you no other option? That is true mastery. That is when you begin to move in harmony with the flow of existence. Every morning, you have the ability to close a chapter, not because it was bad or wrong, but because you are ready to start a fresh page. You do not need a reason other than your own deep desire to be free. You only need the gentle courage to stop holding on to who you were yesterday. In doing this, you make yourself available to life in its purest expression, unburdened, clear, and fully present. Rebirth is not some far-off idea. It takes place every single time you choose not to let old thoughts steer your ship. Every time you choose your present truth over your past story, conscious action over hesitation, and direct presence over ingrained habit. Rebirth happens when you remember that you are not your history. You are not your name, your past, or your challenges. You are the quiet awareness behind all of those things. And from that space of awareness, all things become possible. The most beautiful aspect of this path is that it does not demand perfection from you. It only asks for your gentle intention. This process of letting go and being renewed is not always comfortable. Releasing what is familiar never is, but it is essential, because the longer you hold on to an old self, the heavier life begins to feel. The aspirations that once filled you with energy begin to feel out of reach. The simple joys you once found in small things begin to fade. Not because life has stopped offering them, but because you have stopped being open to receive them. When you allow the old self to dissolve, you do not lose anything of value. You simply make space. You invite new perspectives, new connections, new levels of clarity into your being. The world around you will reflect what is happening within you. And when you shift, it will also shift. Life is always in conversation with who you are being. Not who you were, and not who you hope to be one day, but who you are in this moment. When you rise each day with the inner posture that all things old can be released, you vibrate with a different quality of energy. You speak with more truth, you act with more courage, and you welcome life with more ease. You are no longer trying to become someone. You are simply being. And that energy of authentic being is impossible to ignore. That is when abundance finds you. Not because you have forced it, but because you have aligned with it through the simple, courageous act of letting go of your limits and rising into your truth. You are not here to repeat your life. You are here to experience its renewal. The old self was built upon the need for survival. The emerging self is built upon awareness. Abundance is not a result of chasing. It is a result of alignment. Every morning is a sacred invitation to release who you were and to welcome who you are becoming. So do not just listen to this once. Be with these words each morning, not with your ears, but with your soul. And when you begin to live from that centered place, the doors of life will have no choice but to open to you.